So we're almost there. The game works, but we can do a bit better. We can tidy up our code a bit more. Let's start with one of the first problems, if you like. It's not a problem, but let's assume I want to make the game a bit harder. And instead of having 5 kitchen cupboards, I'd like to have 8. Okay, what would I need to do? I'd need to go through my code and find wherever I have 5 there and change that to 8. And then I have to go there as well. You know, I had this string that says 1 to 5. I need to change it to 1 to 8. And that should be it, right? And you think, okay, that's not too bad. But what if this number, the number 5, appeared in lots of places in my code? Let's assume I have a large bit of code. I don't want to have to, whenever I want to make a change, go and change it everywhere. So what we tend to do in these cases is we say, I don't want to put the number directly in my code everywhere I need it. So what can I do? I could create a new variable. Let's go and do it at the top. And I can say, number of doors is a variable. It doesn't exist yet, but when I put an equals, Python says, you're going to tell me what to put inside this box. And I want to put the number 5. So I've created a variable number of doors, which is equal to 5. So the name number of doors is exactly the same as 5. And I can go on line 13 now and change that to number of doors. This is where autocomplete is useful, right? I only had to write the long variable name once. Don't be tempted to make it really short, you know, like n. Go for number of doors. It makes it more readable, easier to read. And you only have to type it once because autocomplete will do it for you. Now, I need to be careful here. You might be tempted, and you can see there's no autocomplete here, as we'll see why in a bit. This won't work. Have you figured out why this won't work? Let's try. Stephen, I can never type my name properly. See what happened there. 1 hyphen number of doors. That's not what I want. Why? If you want, you can pause it here and see whether you can come up with your own solution. And if you're back now, you may have remembered, yes, this is a normal string. We want to use a formatted string, the F string. So what we can do here is we can put an F in front of the string to make it a formatted string. And instead of after the hyphen, 1 hyphen rather, I want to put curly brackets, and now I have autocomplete because now it understands I want a Python name that exists, number of doors exists. Good. And let me now put a different number either. Let me put 8. So now if I want to change number of doors, I only have to change it in one place in my code. Wherever I create number of doors and make it equal to 8. I don't need to worry about the rest of the code because in the rest of the code, I'm not using the number 5, I'm using the name of the variable. So that's where variables come in useful. And now you can have a look and I still have a problem there. So it's still showing 5 cupboards. So we need to fix this. Here it says, where is the goblin hiding? 1 to 8. Let's try them all. 1, 2. In this case, it happened to be number 2. We'll check later, and this is where you can run this code over and over again to make sure that sometimes the goblin is going to be in 6, 7, or 8. I'll leave that up to you to test. So we've realized we still have a problem. We need to show 5 kitchen cupboards here. And, well, I can, of course, go and copy. I copied the wrong thing there. Copy. Why does it do that? I'm pressing the wrong button, that's why. Apologies for that. Copy 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. But this defeats the whole purpose, right? Because now I still have to, if I put an 8 here, I still have to go and change that. In fact, here there's something which we'll talk a lot about in the future. This is repetitive, and we really, really hate to repeat ourselves. In fact, there's a mantra in coding: don't repeat yourself, dry for short. But we'll talk about dry later on. Whenever there's repetition in coding, we want to find a lazy way, a more efficient way of doing it. So let's see how we can fix this so that we don't have to keep writing these kitchen cupboards and making them larger or smaller. Now let's put 1 cupboard there. And a reminder that this is a string. The data type here is a string. And we want to repeat this string 5 times or 8 times in this case. And you may remember when I was showing you data types a couple of videos ago, we've seen that if I take a string and multiply it by a number, and the variable number of doors is a number, it will repeat that string 8 times in this case. And that's exactly what we want to do. And notice that the star number of doors is outside of the quotation marks. We don't want it to be part of the string. We want to say the string line pipe underscore pipe line underscore line. I want to repeat that string 8 times. So let's check. Again, my name is wrong, doesn't matter. Now we have 8 doors there. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It happened to be in 5 there. Keep running it and make sure that sometimes the code does end up in 6, 7, 8, which it will. And now I can change any number of doors. Pick any number and we've made the code more flexible. This is something you'll hear me say a lot. We want to make the code as flexible as possible. So if we want to change it, we need to do the least amount of work to get the change. This way, if I want to change the difficulty of the game, all I have to do is change one number right there on line 3. Good. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some comments in my code. We've already seen the hash symbol that we use to write something in plain English. And I'm not going to spend too much time here, but the idea of commenting code is to try to make it a bit easier for someone else, or indeed for your future self, to understand the code. It's not always easy to come back to code or code someone else wrote and like, oh, what does this do? So putting in some comments can make it nice and easy. And by the way, skipping lines doesn't really matter. It's usually a bit like starting a new paragraph when you're writing in English, right, or in another language. Sometimes you want to separate things into paragraphs. That's what we're doing for new lines there. So I might here just put there those chunks. And here I'm going to put create welcome messages. So this is just a message in plain English to, it's like I'm labeling the section, right? So that if someone had to come in and like, oh, what does this bit of code do? Oh, it creates welcome messages, good. We're not going to comment everything, right? And how much to comment is a skill you learn with practice. You know, you don't want to do too little, you don't want to do too much. Different people have different views. All that matters here, for example, main part of the game. We'll see that as our programs become more complex, this commenting, this keeping some notes of what section it's what, or perhaps you have a difficult bit. You're like, oh, I need to remind myself what this line does. So you can also add a comment at the end of the line and say, this changes the string to an int. You may say, I don't need that, but it's up to you on how much or how little you want to comment. With time, you'll find the right balance. So that brings us to an end of this project. We have created a game which does what it does. I'll let you play it as much as you want. And we've seen quite a bit of Python fundamentals. We've seen how to structure a computer program, how to build it from scratch. And we've also seen 3 of the 4 fundamental topics I like to talk about. Store, storing data and variables. Repeat, taking a chunk of code and repeating it over and over again. In this case, we've seen it in the while loop. And decide. We want the computer program to make a decision for us. In this case, we've seen it in the case of the if and else statements. The 4th one is reuse, and we'll look at this in a future video. So that's the end of our Goblin Hunt game. Go and find all the goblins you can find there.